What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for Married at First Sight. This is season 14, you guys. This is episode 9. I did not get the title of the episode because the app that I used to watch the show, it didn't tell me what the episode title was, so I don't know. But if I can find it, it'll be right there on the screen, and it'll also be in the description bar. But this is episode 9, you guys. So I did miss last week's episode. Sorry, you guys. I just had I had a hectic week last week. Last week was pretty hectic for me until last Friday when I got my job offer, right? But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. So the one thing that I want to say about last week's episode is Lindsay is trash, right? But the thing is, Lindsay got topped in this week's episode, and I'm not like it's like we go from one person, which was the person whose name I'm not gonna say. She's and the fact that she said she want to come to Texas. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. Please don't come here to Texas. We're full, boo boo. We're full. But she will find her racist cowboy. So hey, it is what it is, right? But I don't know if she's gonna want that lifestyle. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, you went from that one, whose name I won't say, to Lindsay to Elijah. But you guys, before we just go ahead and discuss Married at First Sight, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and are not subscribed to my channel, I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning your notifications on, and subscribing to and sharing the video. And you guys, with that out the way, without further ado, let's discuss Married at First Sight, shall we? All right, you guys, so I'm going to start up with Steve and Noye because honestly, in this episode, Steve and Noye were pretty basic and boring. No shade to either one of them. They were just very boring to me. So we see that, the couples are tasked with a date, right? So we see Noye and Steve. Well, actually, we don't see Noye. We see Steve. And Steve is at the park, and Noye has him doing this scavenger hunt. He said a treasure hunt. I'm like, Steve, you don't know the difference between a treasure hunt and a scavenger hunt? A treasure hunt, you have a map and you're trying to find a buried treasure. A scavenger hunt, they give you little clues so that you can find what you're looking for. But hey, nonetheless, he did the scavenger hunt. Looked like Steve and Noye had a good time with each other, right? I don't really give a shit about that, right? So then at one point in the episode, we see them and they're asking, so each couple asked the question of had they been in love, right? Steve said yes, he's been in love multiple times, right? And Noye's like, really? But you have a hard time saying you love me. Noye, at that point, it was only 2.5 weeks. Granted, I know name of the show is Married at First Sight. I know people can be, and people believe they're, you can be in love with someone at first sight, right? I'm not someone who believes in that philosophy that, you can love someone right off the bat. I don't believe in that. And I say I don't believe in it for myself, right? Because for me, I got to get to know a person, see if we mesh well, see if we click, just see how we interact with one another, right? So I can't necessarily say love at first sight, right? Because sometimes it could be dislike at first sight, right? Like I'll tell you guys, some of my friendships that I have, some of my longest friendships with people that because I can read a person, right? I can read you very well, right? I'm a pretty good judge of character. And sometimes, even especially when I was a teenager, right? Like I said, some of the people that I'm the closest to, right? I started out not having, I'm not gonna say I hate them. I don't hate anyone, right? But some of my friendships, we started out on bad terms, right? We weren't cool. We didn't see if each other right. And they're now some of the longest relationships that I've ever had in my, even my best friend, she and I, we didn't start off on bad terms. We did not start off on bad terms. But what happened is my cousin wanted to fight her and I don't know why my cousin wanted to fight her, but my cousin wanted to fight my best friend. And it's so interesting because when my cousin was like, who's your, she was like, when I kept saying, I say my best friend's name, she's like, wait a minute. I'm not gonna say my best friend's name on camera, but she's like, really? I'm like, yeah. She's like, how did y'all become friends? I'm like, we sat in class one day and she asked to see my phone she put her number in my phone, and she called my phone. She called her phone from, well, one of the two. She got my number, right, and then she texted me, and we it was awkward at first for me because I had she actually no, she's not. No, she's not. I was about to say she was my first friend of the opposite sex. No, she's not. She's my second. Actually, not really my second. Well, as far as best friend, she is. She's my second best friend as a woman. But when we first started texting, it was kind of, it was just we were just talking, just having regular conversations, right? But then over time, our conversations just, changed, and we've been best friends for this year. I think we're going into year 17 or 18 this year. But yeah, like I said, Noye, suffice it to say, I don't believe in love at first sight. I think it takes time to get to know a person's personality, their quirks, right? What things that, what you like about them and what you might not like about them, right? So I say all that to say I don't believe in it, right? Some people might, I just don't, right? So yeah, but Noye was in her feelings because he was talking about how he's in love. He loved his other he loved his other his other girlfriends, right? And he hasn't said it to her. I'm like, Noye, just take the time to let the man get to know you. I mean, it's not gonna happen just like that, right? Again, it could, but not necessarily, right? So she said, now I think she said that she was in love only once, right? I believe that's what she said. Yeah, she said just one time, right? And here's the thing, like I said, she's falling in love with him. He hasn't reciprocated that. He hasn't reciprocated that, right? I'm just stuck on how do you want this man to say that so soon? But hey, she wants it. We'll talk about it, right? So then we see Noye and Steve at one point in the episode. They were doing a picnic, right? So they're celebrating being married for 3 weeks. She's like, "Oh my God, this is 1 month." I'm like, "Girl, he just said three." I mean, it's 3 weeks, 21 days. That's not a month. A month is 31 to 30 days, and I mean, if you get married in February, it's 28 days, right? But you do know that that's not a month, right? But okay, wait. I was like, a month. He just said 3 weeks. Okay. But, they talk, right? And they talk about what the best part of the process has been for them so far, right? They talk about the wedding. They talk about the honeymoon. They even talk about what they've liked since they've been back in the real world, right? I question Noye because, girl, what it, going back to last week's episode, the one that I didn't review, going back to last week's episode, if you guys looked at Noye when Noye was working at her computer and Steve came out that room, Noye looked annoyed. Like I did that? She looked annoyed with Steve, to be quite honest with you, but hey, it is what it is. But suffice it, why do I keep saying suffice it? Not even saying that right. Well, yeah, at the end of this date, Steve told Noye he loves her. I was like, oh, okay. Do I believe it? It's up to them. If it's up to them, do I will, as far as couples that I want to make it to decision day, this is one of them, right? Steve and Noye are one couple that I definitely want to make it to decision day. After that, I don't know who else I would love to see together because I honestly don't think any other couples are a match. But we'll move on and talk about some of the other couples, you guys. All right, you guys, next up, let's talk about Jasmine and Michael, right? It's not real a lot with Jasmine and Michael. And I think the biggest issue between Jasmine and Michael is the fact that they both have issues. I'm not going to sit here and come down hard on Michael and not come down on Jasmine at the same time, right? Because both Michael and Jasmine have their own issues, right? Michael's issue is the fact that Michael is not vulnerable and Michael has not opened up to Jasmine, right? But at this time, it's only been 2 to 3 weeks, right? So you can't really expect someone to open up, right, that soon. Like I said before, I'm not that kind of person, right? Sometimes it does happen where I meet someone and we have an instant connection and I open up to them. Like I have some friends, like I actually have one of my not my best friend, but one of my other best friends. Her name is Precious, right? She and I, when we first met each other, we connected right away. Like we are still friends to this day. She and I, we have another friend, his name is Ahmed, right? The three of us, we clicked right away, and we've been friends since 2016, right? We connected from the jump, right? And I felt comfortable they're older than me, right? I think my friend Precious is, because she has two kids. Actually, her kids are younger than I am, right? Her son and her daughter are a little bit younger than, a few years younger than me, right? But she and I connected immediately. And when I knew that these two were friends for life was when my mother passed away. They immediately rallied around me, and they were so super supportive of me, right? And that was that, and I think that's how I knew that I could open up to them and just feel comfortable with them, because they were with me through the most difficult time in my life, losing my mother. So I say all that to say, you can open up to someone real soon, and it can take a while to open up to people, right? It just depends, right? And also with Michael, Michael has been through a lot in his young 28 years of being on this earth, right? And we'll talk about that in just a minute, right? So they talk about the honeymoon, and she's now, I do have an issue with Jasmine, right? Because Jasmine, I get what she's saying, right? She says that Michael talks to her with a tone, right? But Jasmine, in the same token, you say he talks to you with a tone, but the way you're talking to him, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a little condescending, right? It's like you're talking down to this man, right? Because the one thing that she said, because he asked her what to do better, she says, "Don't talk to me if you don't talk to me with the tone, right? I appreciate that, right?" And she says, "If you need a moment or something or need a beat, say I need a moment, and we can reconvene." I got that, right? But then she lost me, right, when she said, um, about having a decent conversation, right? I was like, you have to remember, you have to think about this, right? Because my mom always told me this growing up as a kid, right? Because she knows how I am, and I get mad. I don't get mad easily, but I get frustrated, right? When people, especially with people, sometimes, right? Especially if I'm doing something in a group environment, I get frustrated real easily. And she's like, "You have to remember, Jerome, not every," and that's my middle name, Jerome. That's what my family calls me. She's like, "You have to remember, Jerome, not everybody's not like you, right? People don't do things the way that do things. People don't move the way that you move. You have to accept people for who they are, and you have to, meet them where they are. You can tell people how you like things done, but they don't necessarily have to do things that way. So you have to then kind of shape around how they work and how they operate." And I was like, I mean, I get, and I've always known that. I get that, right? But it still frustrates me when my personality and someone else's personality don't mesh well, and we clash. And especially if it's a work environment and it's a group environment, it bothers me. It's like, I mean, I don't want you to do, and I think that's what I need to learn. And that's one thing I do need to learn how to do, right? Is communicate. I'm not asking you to do the things the way that I do it. I just want it done. I just want it to be done seamlessly, right? With little to no issues. And I think that's something I definitely need to work on, right? But I just didn't like the way she said that, because what you call having a decent conversation with someone might not be someone else's interpretation of a decent conversation. And I'm pretty sure what she means by having a decent conversation is not raising your voice, not elevating your speech, and all that kind of stuff, right? But for someone who grew up, I mean, you could say someone grew up in a household where their mother and their father yelled at the top of their lungs, right? And that's normal. That's a normal, decent conversation for them, right? But for you, it's not a decent conversation. And I don't understand why she didn't really listen to that, but hey. But like I said, she says he talks to her with a tone, but you do talk to him. You have a tone as well, right? Like I just said a few minutes ago, it's condescending. It's like you're talking down. It's like a mother to a child. That's how I look at it. You guys can tell me how you feel, right? So then, Michael at one point in the episode told her that it's the anniversary of his oldest brother's passing, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute. So remember, I said that the couples have asked the questions of have they been in love, right? So Jasmine says she's been in love before, right? She said 3 and a possible, right? And then Michael says he had 1 and a possible. So he said the possible was when he was in high school. It was a high school love, but then he talked about the last relationship he was in, right? And I don't really have much to say about that one, so we're gonna just brush past it because it was a good scene. It wasn't them fussing at each other. It wasn't them yelling at each other. It wasn't them going off on each other. So it was a good scene, but we're gonna move forward. So then we see as Jasmina has set up this, for them to work out, right? And it was cute. She doesn't know how to work out. It was really cute. So then she sits down with Michael. And I love this scene where Michael talks about his brother's, his brother being murdered. Because I'm pretty sure because he said he got shot, right? So he was murdered, right? When Michael broke down, my heart went out to Michael. He lost his brother, his mother, and his grandmother. Now, you guys know I've lost my mother and my grandmother. All of my siblings are still here. So, well, I have 2 siblings. I have my siblings that passed away. They were babies, right? So I didn't know them. But my mother and my grandmother are both gone. So I understand what Michael is going through. And honestly, much like myself, I need to get in, I need to get, some therapy. I hope Michael gets some therapy because he desperately needs it, right? Because Michael, looking at Michael, I can see myself because I closed, especially after my mom died, I closed off for a very long time. I closed off. And I'm still a little closed off. I'm still a little closed off, but not like I was when my mom first died. Because when she first died, I was emotionless. Although I cried, I was emotionless. I was numb. I just didn't feel anything for anybody. I didn't care. It was just like, what is the purpose, right? I had that question for a very long time. And I actually still have that. I still have that question today. What is my purpose on this earth without the 2 people who meant everything to me? It's still difficult for me to navigate, right? I have the question of how am I supposed to live and I still have this question. How am I supposed to live my life without them, My mom and my grandmother were my rock, my world, my everything. And it's still hard to just navigate and just figure out how to get through my life without them. But yeah, I just hope that Michael, he talks to someone, right? But we're going to move on, you guys. Let's talk about Mark and Lindsay. Now, I talked about Lindsay saying last week she was trash, right? With the way she was talking about Mark's little balls. Go stay with your mama. I helped you clean that roach infested apartment. I was like, damn. So Lindsay is the type that she'll do shit for you, but when Mad Day comes, she's just gonna throw that shit right in your face, right? So Lindsay is interesting, right? She wants Mark to say he's sorry and that he cares about her, right? But you literally humiliated that man on national television. You humiliated that man on that. I can't even say it was a hot mic because the producers came in there, and she was still mic'd up. So I can't even give her a hot mic moment. Lindsay knew what she was doing when she did it in that fucking bathroom. But you want this man to apologize to you. Lindsay, you have the unmitigated gall. Oh, girl, go to hell. So he asked her if she feels she was out of line the night before. She says no. I was like, girl, what? No. Are you serious? Girl, you were out of line. Ain't even a word for what you were. You were over the line. You crossed over that line. He couldn't even, like she said, he couldn't give her the big O. But then in this episode, we gonna talk about it in a minute, but they went to a batting cage and you made a sexual reference, right? I'm like, but you just said last week that the man's balls were small and that he couldn't even give you the big O. Lindsay gets on my nerves. So she said no, right? That she didn't feel like she was in the wrong or she was out of line. But she feels like he's a Debbie Downer, right? Do I get Debbie Downer from Mark? I don't get David, so I don't get David Downer from Mark. I'm gonna tell you guys what I do get from Mark, and I'm gonna try to say this in the nicest way possible, right? Because I like Mark, but Mark likes Mark is like a spineless jellyfish. That was the nicest way I could say it. I was gonna say something else, but Mark is like a jellyfish. I think what it is Mark is, I don't want to say intimidated, right? But Mark can't stand up for himself, right? That landlord, when she when we were talking about him getting evicted, he ain't did nothing. It was Lindsay helping him, right? Him and Lindsay going back and forth, especially when they talked to Pastor Cal, and Pastor Cal was telling him, when he feels something, say something, right? I don't know if Mark has an issue with, speaking, and that might be what the issue is. I wonder if Mark has an issue with vocalizing to a woman when she has, overstepped her boundaries and, and is out of line with, doing stuff that he doesn't like. I wonder if that's the issue. I really, because it just gives that, right? That he can't, stand on it. It just gives that vibe that, Mark just, I don't know. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, because that is an interesting one, right? That, he won't say what's what to Lindsay. It's like he tiptoes around Lindsay, right? I don't know if he's tiptoeing around he tiptoes around feelings of women, or if he doesn't want to be looked at as aggressive. I just wonder what it is with Mark, right? So then she says, I'm trying to be supportive and I'm kind. Girl, you sound like Alyssa. You're starting to sound a little bit like Alyssa with the whole I'm a good person spiel. And it's just interesting how the fact that Lindsay has managed to flip this shit and make herself the victim. Now, granted, I'm gonna talk about last week's episode real quick, right? The whole situation that happened, I was actually on Lindsay's side, right? I was on Lindsay's side until the point where she started berating this damn man, right? I was on her side because Katina did come into that, that whole situation when she told Lindsay, you don't talk to me, and she's rolling her eyes at her. Baby Katina, you in that wig would have got shifted. Shout out to Sheree. You in that wig would have got a little bit shifted. Just putting that out there for you. You in that wig would have been shifted. And I didn't agree with Mark not saying, I didn't agree with Mark coming at Lindsay. So you guys, the sunlight might be bouncing on me in a few minutes because this guy, you guys just saw him getting his truck. So he's about to leave and he's blocking the sunlight. But we're almost through with the review. So then they both talk about, have they been in love? Lindsay said she's been in love twice, high school love and her last relationship. Mark, you get out of one relationship, right, and you go get with someone else. When he said that, I was like, are you doing a rebound? Because the way he was talking about he has a hard time letting go. Is it a rebound relationship that you're going to? I like Mark, but Mark got a lot of issues, right? So then we later see Mark and Lindsay, they go out for sushi, right? I'm with Mark. I don't do sushi. I'm just not a raw food type of person. It's just not for me. Hearing Mark apologize to Lindsay, for me, I stopped listening because it went in one ear and out the other because she didn't apologize for shit she said, right? Granted, he might not have heard her. I don't know how the fuck he didn't hear her in that loud ass bathroom that echoed. I don't know how he didn't hear that, but hey, he didn't hear it, right? I hope they addressed it at the reunion. Please address that at the reunion. Experts. Some experts they are. I just really wonder, how do the experts match these people up, right? I know you go through a casting call, right? And I know they probably do some recruiting as well, but how do y'all match these people up? It's beyond me, right? Then we later see Mark and Lindsay, they went to the batting cage. This is where she was talking about, she hopes that he, she wants him to, how he was hitting that ball, she wants him to do that to her. I'm like, bitch, you just said that the man's balls were little. Lindsay is an interesting one, right? But we're gonna move on, you guys, and we're going to talk about actually we're gonna talk about the individual, the couples together, when the men went up together and the women together, and then we'll talk about Olajuwon and Katina because I got some shit to say about Olajuwon and Katina. All right, guys. So we see the guys. So the guys they played archery, right? And the ladies went to the spa. Katina is rather interesting, right? Because Katina has this issue with Lindsay. Granted, I get it. Lindsay is a lot, right? But Lindsay, especially even last week's episode, Lindsay didn't do much to Katina, so I didn't understand why Katina was rolling her eyes. And like I said, I get it. I get it, Katina. Lindsay is a whole hell of a lot, right? But she ain't she ain't killed your cat or nothing like that. She should kill that wig. Oops, did I say that out loud? My bad. So Katina and Jasmine were talking before Noye Katina was talking to Jasmine before Noye and Lindsay showed up, right? She doesn't talk to Lindsay, but she has had communicate. She does communicate with Noye. Noye DMs her, right? So they sit down and they talk about what's going on in their relationships, right? Mark and Lindsay tell them what's going on. Katina talks about Olajuwon. And when I was looking at Olajuwon, the only thing that I could think of was his haircut, right? So the edge up, right? Right here, my boy. Someone plugged you, and I bet you it was you because it looked like you cut your own hair, right? Mark is talking about how it's hard with Lindsay. I get it. Lindsay was talking about this meme that Noye posted, right? I don't want to get too deep into Olajuwon just yet because we're going to talk about him in just a minute. But Olajuwon is talking about Katina and the household, right? And the fact that I can say this part because it didn't really come. It came up, but it didn't come up right on their date. But Olajuwon is talking to the guys about the fact that after the housewarming party, he told Katina to clean. He wanted to clean up, right? I get it. You want to clean up your house after you had a party and everybody leaves. I get that. You don't want to go to sleep in mess. I get that, right? So she wanted to clean a little section, and I guess she wanted him to clean another section. What's wrong with that? I don't understand that. But hey, I'm going to hold off on that. But my issue with Olajuwon is, are you effectively communicating with her? If you're not, then you're looking like a complete asshole. Michael talks about the fact that him and Jasmine, well, more specifically, he needs to be more open and vulnerable so that way she can be open with him, right? Steve tells them about the issue where he and Noye had with the goddamn noodles that really wasn't an issue, right? So now we're going to move over and we're going to wrap up and talk about Olajuwon and Katina, you guys. All right, you guys. So we find out that Olajuwon and Katina had gotten into it with each other previously, right? So it's the way he talks to her that bothers me. He asked her, what is her definition of a wife? I was like, what? What is her definition of a wife? Is this what we're doing? It can't be what we're doing. What is her definition of a wife? What is her definition of a wife? That was a rude ass question. And I question is, what is Olajuwon looking for in a wife? Like, what does he want? Does he want a wife, or does he want a maid and a housekeeper? Right? Like, those are the things that I question. Like, what does he want in this relationship? So then they talk, right? And they talk about what it takes for them to fall in love, right? So Katina says that she's trained herself not to cry, which I was like, okay, interesting, right? You very rarely hear that, right? But she said she cries in private. And then she did say that her ex was abusive towards her, right? Well, so far, Olajuwon, he's not abusive. Well, actually, you could look at it as emotional, right? Because when they went on a date, she cried, and I really felt bad for her. But she says that they talk about love, right? She says that she sees that there could be potential to fall in love with him. I'm like, girl, why? Why? because I don't see it. Elijah says that, love is not on the table right now. But he says, he likes her and they just need to grow. What it is I feel like with a Build-A-Bear, I feel like Elijah is trying to build a wife. He's trying to build a wife, right? Oh, and also I want to bring up the fact that last week, when Katina's friend was talking about the fact that Elijah had never dated a black woman, and he had the audacity to say that black women weren't attracted to him. No, that's a lie. It was you. Because you're a handsome guy. Let's be real. You're a handsome guy with outdated ass ideals, but you're a very handsome guy. But yeah. So they went to a cooking class. I was like, oh my fucking God. Granted, it was cute, right? The cooking class was cute, but I was like, girl, this is really starting to get on my nerves at this point, right? Because I'm like, he's building a wife. He wants Katina to be the wife he wants her to be, right? He's trying to build a wife. So he starts talking about the fact that, he bought his own home. I'm not gonna talk about the decor of his home because who decorated that shit? Look like somebody's grandmother threw that house together, right? He has no student loan debt, right? But and the way he said that, it is an accomplishment, right? But when he talked to her, it was like he was putting her down. I'm like, it sounds like you putting her down. And I didn't like that, right? So then he starts talking about the housewarming, how she didn't pick up the food. She had her friends pick up the food. She's like, but that's because I asked him to pick it up because we were out shopping for the decorations and then decorating the apartment, right? And then it's just like he tears into her, and it's just like, for what? What are you bringing to the table? What are you doing? Because he's not like this cooking class is to show that he's in it with her. I don't. It was just the way he was talking to her that it didn't sit right with me. It just didn't. It pissed me off, to be quite honest with you. It really pissed me off because he was talking to her as if she was a fucking child. That's all I got, you guys. I can't give more to Elijah because he really pissed me off this entire episode. It just really pissed me off the way it just gave chauvinistic vibes. It's just like, it's just giving he wants a wife to be barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen cooking his meals when he gets home from work. We're in 2022, not 1952. Now, if you want somebody from 1952, you might want to go look around in the retirement homes and see if you can find a woman that's in that age bracket. Maybe she'll do it for you. But to try to impose this on her, no, we ain't doing that. But let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Leave your comments in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and until the next one, you guys, stay safe, take care of yourselves. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.